Hi, welcome to Quid Pros Quo. I'm Zach,
And I'm Rin.
and today we are talking about how and why you should make time for writing. Rin, you pitched this episode to me when we were talking about what we wanted to do for this session. Take it away.
Yeah, so I'm always thinking about things like time management and burnout and prioritizing the things that I really care about. Literally just today I was like looking at all my works in progress, which I learned I have like 13 of them, which is way too many. Um that's
You're
too
really
many.
draining the ecosystem right now.
Yeah, like I don't have the bandwidth for doing 13 projects simultaneously. So I had to go through and prioritize stuff. But in like larger scale, writing in general is one thing I really care about, and I love it. But I'll be first to admit that it can fall by the wayside when I get really stressed. And not gonna lie, this month has been one of those stressful months. Like lost my job, lots of moving, big doctor's appointments. Like I can't do it. It's scary. Life is so scary.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that. When I was working on my thesis, you better believe that I just put all of the other writing on hold because I was like staying up until the wee hours of the next morning, like doing this super technical writing, trying to get it all, all squared away so that I could graduate. Um, and it wasn't super duper fun, but as soon as it was over, there's
It
always
was like
that question.
satisfying,
Well, it was
hopefully.
satisfying. It was definitely satisfying, but there's also the question of, okay, you took a break from the thing that you were doing before. Are you going to go back to it?
Yeah. Quick aside, I started a project for the 24-hour novel challenge. But then because it was like the week after I lost my job, I was like, I can't do this. I got like 2 hours out of the 24. And I'm only
Hmm.
like 10,000 words into the project, but I might just put it aside for a while because I don't have the bandwidth for it right now. And like, that's okay. But anyways, in general, I wanted to talk about how we can prioritize writing time because for writers, writing is self-care. Like this is one of my core beliefs. Like in my book coaching, I'm always like, how can you take care of yourself as a writer with your writing?
Hmm.
And I think it was Kafka who said, "A writer not writing is a monster courting madness." But also, Zach, a few days ago, I saw you post on Threads for a trend. It was like, what do indie authors do besides just writing and publishing? And do you want to talk about that?
Oh yeah, for sure. So for me, writing is a side gig, and that's kind of where it fits into the broader architecture of my life. In real life, if we can call it that, um, I am a PhD student in astrophysics, which means my job is doing astronomy research and teaching undergraduates. I'm currently, as we speak, doing curriculum development, which is really fun, but really time consuming. So I have to make time for the curriculum development so that my students have something to do when I'm teaching. But at the same time, I also love to write. And so I have to make time for that, and it needs to fit into that broader architecture of what I'm doing.
Yeah, and it's the same for me and like that broader architecture of my life. Like, admittedly, not having a job is mostly job search, but that's also like Department of Workforce Services and like doing all these big doctor's appointments I talked about. So, like, writing is also a side gig. I would love it to be my main gig, but until then, how do we prioritize it?
Yeah, for sure. And I think because I'm currently in between, I just finished the thesis, just graduated from college, starting the program in the fall. So I'm in the in between spot. And it can be really easy when you're in an in between spot, whether it's in between jobs or in between school and the next thing or whatever you are in between. It can get really easy to tell yourself, oh, I have all of this time. I should be uber productive. Um, but for me, and I think that this is probably way more common than people think it is, particularly with job searching, the stress makes it challenging for you to do other things.
Yes, and I think we are not as forgiving with ourselves as we should be. Like, again, it goes back to writing should be self-care, and like you should self-care, but sometimes also not writing is self-care. Like, rest is so important, and we do not rest enough in our world. Like, it is always go go go, hustle hustle hustle. Like, the culture is to give 100% all the time, but like you cannot give 100% all the time. Like, that's not healthy. Yeah, like you have to work through that stress and complete the stress cycle before you can be like creative and do all that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely true. I think on top of self-care, making time for writing can be beneficial for building skill. The more you write, the better you get.
Yeah, and that's also super important for a flow state, which is like I think Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, the like father of flow psychology, said that flow is the optimal state for existence or something along those lines. But it's really important to like build skill for flow state because you have to feel capable, but you also have to be continuously challenged at an appropriate level. Also, the more writing you do, the more momentum you build, and the easier it is to write every day.
Yeah, if it's a part of your daily routine, then it makes it more likely for you to write. And if you're tracking your writing streak, you also have an incentive not to break the streak. It's kind of like my wife and Duolingo. She's been doing Spanish lessons on Duolingo for more than 800 days now, and it's just part of her. Like it's just part of her routine. It is making sure that she does a little bit of Spanish every single day, and it's been really cool to see how her Spanish ability has improved over the course of those 800 days since I've been there for most of it.
Yeah, that's like first of all, that's like 3 years. That's wild. I don't think I ever had a streak on Duolingo go above a year. Couldn't be me, but like go Polly.
Yeah, she's pretty cool.
I can confirm Polly's the coolest. If you haven't listened to Polly's episode on historical consciousness and I can never say this word, historicity. Is that right? Okay,
Historicity.
perfect. Historicity. Sure, whatever. If you haven't gone and listened to this episode, it's a 2-part episode that we did earlier this year. You should go check it out. Next, let's talk about how actually make time for writing, because I'm a big believer in setting a schedule because then you are literally making space for writing on your calendar. If you are in the productivity space, they call this time blocking, like where you pull up your Google Calendar and you just set like an hour on your calendar and you say write, and that's all you do in that hour, and you use time blocking to make other tasks like more efficient, productive. We're not talking about being efficient or productive right now. We're just like trying to sit down and get words down.
Yeah, I think some of the most productive writing years that I've had is when I was dedicating an hour every day to my writing. And it was always the same time of day, and I really protected that time so that I was writing every day. It really helped that it was 5 o'clock in the morning and there wasn't a lot to compete at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
But
but you don't have to write at 5 o'clock in the morning. Like, to be
no,
clear, that was also the best time for my writing, but you don't have to do that.
no,
And
you
for most
don't.
people, it's not good for you to get up early and write. Like, if you're not a morning person, do not write in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. I think I saw something on the internet, so I don't know if it's actually true, but supposedly night owls are more creative, so maybe for writers it would be better for you to write at night. I have no clue. That sounds kind of fake.
That
But
sounds like pseudoscience to me if I ever heard it. Because I'm just saying, I've also heard like early morning people are more creative because like, oh my god, and then you go to like the Ayurvedic clock, which is like Indian traditional medicine, and they're like the most creative time is like 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. or something like that, or 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. or something. Like,
yeah,
anyways, pseudoscience if I ever heard it.
regardless, that 5 a.m. writing time worked for me during a specific season in my life, and it no longer works. So you will not find me at my desk at 5 a.m., and that's okay. Like, you gotta adapt. You gotta change with the times.
There are different seasons of life, and it is okay that there are different seasons of life. And like that's just important to recognize that your strategy for making time for writing is going to change, and it's okay. Like, it will come and go. It will be different, and that's okay. But another way you can make time for writing is to set a space aside for your creative writing. Like, listen, I live in a tiny room right now. I'm about to move into a studio apartment in 2 weeks, another big stressor in my life. But I'm going to have 2 desks when I'm in that apartment, and one is going to be for like crafting and creative stuff, and one is going to be just for writing. And I'm so excited. Like,
that is really exciting.
I like know what my aunt and uncle are like holding onto a desk for me to use. Like they're like, we want to get rid of this. Do you want it? I'm like, I cannot fit into my current apartment, but my next apartment it will fit. So yes, please. It's like this beautiful like wooden desk. It's like it's ginormous. I'm so excited. But anyways, I actually have a post on my Patreon about designing your workspace for maximum creativity. So if you want to go check that out, you can go to patreon.com/ckjensenauthor. The TLDR is find some way that works for you in a space that works for you and keep it consistent.
Yeah, I think an important part of a writing space, going along with keeping it consistent, is making sure that it's clean or that it's in the same like state when you sit down. Because I know for me, if my desk is really cluttered, I work best when I'm writing at a desk. I can write with my laptop on my lap, but it just doesn't work as well. I'm not sure if it's like a mental block or something.
Could be
But
ergonomic.
yeah, because you got kind of like hunch in order to fit on the,
on the couch
to make everything work. Yeah. Plus, my couch isn't super comfortable, but that's another story for another time. But when I'm sitting at my desk and it's super cluttered, sometimes I get really anxious and I'm like, ooh, look at all this other stuff. It's distracting.
Yeah. Which like that actually is science driven, that like your brain, like most brains need a clear workspace to work. Like that's why you will clean when you're supposed to be studying for an exam. Like there's actual science to back that up. Not pseudoscience.
Not pseudoscience.
Exactly. So yeah, and then this reason is something that I wanted to talk about, which was using routines and rituals to help make time for writing. First, let's define what each of those mean, because they seem very similar, and I'm not going to lie, I was like trying to conceptualize it, so I had to Google this definition. But a routine is process-driven, so it answers the question of what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. It's more like behavioral. Well, a ritual is purpose-driven, so it's like why you're doing the thing you're doing. So like a routine might be getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning, but a 5 a.m. ritual is like I'm getting up at 5 a.m. because I want to fill in the blank. Yeah.
It reminds me of Nietzsche, one of my least favorite philosophers, saying I'm not even sure if Nietzsche said this, but it's often attributed to him that he who has a why can endure anyhow.
It is Nietzsche, at least attributed to him. There's also that other quote that like all of men's problems stem from an inability to sit in a room alone and quietly. Blaise Pascal.
Ah, Pascal.
So yeah,
rascal.
so Pascal said you have to your problems come from not being able to sit quietly and do your creative thing. So just saying.
So sit down and be quiet.
Yeah. But anyways, routines and rituals. Like rituals are like finding your why. So like we have an episode coming out, I think next week, on how to find your writing why. So you should go check that out next week. Or maybe we'll post the week before this, one or the other. We will be posting an episode around this episode about being the writing why. Oh my god. But it's something you should definitely incorporate into your ritual. Like, if you're writing to get published, like, I'm gonna be sassy for a second. Why? That's like, you're not gonna make money from it. Like, statistically, it is so unlikely that you will make like big bucks from writing. But if you're writing so other people can read it, like, write to share your work. And if you're writing to write, then like don't share your work. Like we'll delve into it more in the writing why episode. The next thing we're going to talk about is like critique groups, and you really like working with critique groups. Like you're in a couple, I think.
Yeah, I use critique groups in order to make sure that I am writing consistently. Because while critique groups are really valuable for feedback, they also give you social pressure to write and to do so consistently. Because it is my turn to be critiqued once a month, and I want to have something once a month to be able to share. And I know exactly how many words it has to be. And so that's how much I want to write once a month. That was what I started with. I've built it up a little bit so that I'm writing a bit more than what my critique group can read, which means I'm going a lot faster. But I can credit my critique group for getting me to write 35,000 words over the course of the last 4 months because I knew that I needed to have something to give them when it came time for our critique group. Which reminds me, I need to read everybody's submissions because we're having a critique group meeting on Saturday, and I haven't read everybody's stuff yet.
Oh, you gotta get on that. So like critique groups
Yep.
are like having an accountability partner, except more of them. And critique groups are just like a type of writing group. We talked about this in our finding writing groups episode. But I'm in like a writing group, but I just finished my submission thing. We like in this writing group, we submit like our whole novels at once, and then we spend like a month like reading them, and then we come together twice, like the halfway point and the final point. But right now it's not working by accountability, so I just signed up to be accountability buddies with one of my friends, and we are both hopefully going to start writing again, even though we're both stressed out of our minds because life is the worst. But anyways, accountability buddies.
We love accountability.
We really do. It is so helpful. Also, deadlines are really great, at least for me.
Yep. Deadlines are good.
I think it's really good to leverage technology as well. Like, I love the Pomodoro method, which is set a timer, write for 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break, and then start again. You can also use the kitchen timer method, which is like set timer for an hour, and you can either write in a journal or you can write on your project, and that's the only two things you can do. You cannot have the Wi-Fi on. I recently used ChatGPT to set deadlines for myself. I don't know if I like the deadlines they set. Because first they were like, it's going to take you 6 months to finish the first draft of this novel. I'm like, that does not take me that long. Here's my average word count. Do it again. So anyway. But there's lots of writing apps.
Let me tell you something that will do that way better.
Yeah, exactly.
I have found that ChatGPT sucks at math.
Yeah, they're so bad. But there's writing apps or project management software that you can use if it works. And Zach, you're about to talk about something that I have used. I was just trying to do it for multiple projects at once, so Scrivener wasn't going to cut it.
I see what you're saying. Because if you're just trying to figure it out for one project, Scrivener has a function where you can go in and you can say, here is the target word count, and here are the days that I want to work on it, and this is the due date, and it will calculate your words per day. So it's just like the editor inside of Nano. You just don't get the pretty graphs, which is kind of sucky. Well, I really like having that progress bar because it's really helpful. The progress bar in
Scrivener is so good, especially the color gradient. Have you noticed that?
Yes, I have. When you're doing it per chapter, per document or whatever, it'll turn more green, and you're like, oh, I'm so close.
It will change colors depending on your theme.
Yes.
So
amazing.
I have a blue gradient one theme and a purple gradient and another. There's so much you can do with them. Scrivener is so customizable. I love Scrivener.
Yeah, and I think those sorts of progress bars are helpful because they help situate you inside of your work in progress, so that oh, I'm at the midpoint, so now I should start writing midpoint things.
Yes, and those milestones are we're celebrating. And it's also really important to motivate yourself to keep writing, because if you never celebrate your writing, then you're not going to want to keep writing. But I like to celebrate tiny wins by just going and getting a fun little drink at a cafe, or going into the other room and telling my boyfriend about it, or just doing literally anything to celebrate. It's just so much better than not.
For sure. And I think the last thing, it's important to be flexible. We talked about this with the whole 5 a.m. writing thing, but whatever system that you have for writing consistently, things are going to change. And just being in a place where you can let go of what was working before but isn't working now to adopt something new that is going to work for you now is so important. For example, I realized that I had my writing practices mixed up with my goals. I was working on something that was not going to get me closer to my goals. So I switched over from drafting to doing revisions because I had this other manuscript over here that was just sitting there that I wanted to push out and that I wanted to publish, but I wasn't working on it. And so obviously it wasn't going to get published. So I needed to go and work on that. And that's totally okay. It kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier with writing ecosystems.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out which episode that was because I do not remember. I think it might have been episode 44 when we talked about back burner projects.
Yes, that was probably when we did it.
That feels right. But speaking of episode 44, we are now on episode, like, what number is this? This is like
97?
97 or something like that. We are almost at episode 100, and that's wild. And we have some special stuff coming up for episode 100 and then beyond, so stick around for that.
Yes. Let's do a real quick recap about what we talked about today. We talked about 7 techniques for making time to write. We talked about setting a schedule, creating a writing space, creating a routine and or a ritual. Remember the how versus the why. We talked about using a writing group, whether it's a critique group, an accountability buddy, whatever, just having that social element. We talked about leveraging technology. We talked about celebrating milestones and staying flexible.
Thank you so much for joining us this week on Quid Pros Quo.
Quid Pros Quo is hosted by DC Winters and ZK Jensen. If you like this episode, be sure to leave us a rating. And if you'd like to contact us, you can email us at quidprosquo@gmail.com. For more episodes, check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever else you get your podcasts.